botcher no. Of course, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama no more Ghana nyina adwen esi ade ba akoso se wo mo no e kana na so o man Ghana wa penso no wo bubu ho akonta e de kire Ghana fo na saa bere ya e kada o man Ghana so yi na sa wo ye so wo papa mu won kuntabu akwan so a obi ade ka 20,000 Ghana cedi me gwa me 20,000 I don't remember the last time who 20,000 and I said me who be the year why you tell me my adwuma Obia they got 20,000. But what is there to show for it? And then the question now, Omo ebisa omo Ghana nyina adwen si so. E ye no ma what performance track anymore. Any ye be hwede aka say Oma kuntabu ani. Se sa na tie dia and ye dia na tre. Honorable Al Hassan Suhini, former broadcaster, member of parliament for the good people of Tamale North, and I guess Anope. Ya de kasa no be frafra. Brofo kakra. Kakra. Honorable Yamuache Akwaba.
Amen. Me do so.
Fantastic.
That's saying.
Yamina Daruma me hoye. Now so
girl no ye juma no kakra.
Media.
The one you promoted. He's teaching me the cheese more.
Oh yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah. I know the yeah. Say me be abo.
Yamina Daruma. Akadiaka.
I envy your vim, and it reminds me of those mornings.
Yes.
The power drive.
Yeah. Oh, but now
you're doing a great job.
I mean, waking up in the morning, early in the morning, no?
Yeah.
And go.
Oh yes.
You don't get used to it.
Yes. It's not something you get.
No, at all.
But you see, the days you don't have to come to work to, then you don't know what to do with your morning.
Very true. and why not? It should be hit here.
Yeah.
Most are not going to 12. Was it? No, I have no choice, but I have to go. I for represent.
I know.
Anyway,
but you're doing great, my brother.
Thank you so much.
Very great.
And you and your team are doing great as well in Parliament.
Thank you.
Especially Norman Hodua SCC in the last couple of years and how you've gone about it. But yes, say I'm coming as free. Yeah, my gun and Nisika Semne baby a drew. Look, now many ball report we saw, and I'll read a bit of it to you, which talks about the way Jessica Semne pushy Ghana for with women into extreme hardship and poverty. Now, this is a report by reporter by Women in Informal Employment. Now, also globalizing and organizing. Now, the report reveals that 850,000 Ghanaians, mostly women, were pushed into extreme poverty in 2022 due to a host of factors, including high levels of government debt and the closure of international markets to Ghana. And a research conducted in October 2023 discovered that despite Ghana making slight recovery from COVID-19 pandemic in 2021, most of these 850,000 Ghanaians became vulnerable to inflationary pressures, which led to cost of high living. When the report here, do you agree with the report? And would you say abino by this time now say eating humble pie now what you say what can we be and asadi yaba?
You know, Kwame, I think that the report is even understating the problems of this country. Let me take one step back and say good morning to your listeners, especially the very good people. See, I know that many of them have made time to watch and listen this morning, especially after I shared the fire.
That's right.
I'm very happy to be here this morning. If you are somebody who interacts with people on a regular basis, if you are not just a man behind the desk and a computer, then the next thing is with your family. You are one who interacts with people. You use commercial vehicles. You enter public places, be it the malls or the markets.
That's right.
You know, or you are regular at the ghettos, or places where people generally meet.
Yeah.
You will be left with no doubt that this country has actually sunk to its lowest ever in the public. And you see, when you read the report, you made, or the report makes reference to the impact of inflation.
Yes.
And that is why I get a bit offended when I hear government communicators talk about the fact that inflation is becoming stable.
At least it's dropping.
Or it's dropping.
Yeah.
And so they, beat their chest with that kind of conversation. I mean, see, let's do a simple mathematics. If I was buying, say, bread at, let's say, 20, before inflation went to 54%, it is perhaps because my salary was, say, around 300 or 500. So I could afford bread. Now, with inflation going to 54%, what it meant was that the bread I was buying at 20 Ghana cedi moved to about, let's say, 31 Ghana.
That's right.
That's the impact of the 54% inflation.
Yeah.
Now, when they say the inflation is coming down, and that it is, say, what is it today?
28.5.
28.5.
Yeah.
Or let's even say it is 25
Yeah.
today. The 25% is no longer calculated on the 20 Ghana cedis that I used to buy the bread. It's now on the 31.
Because that's where it moved to.
That's where it moved
when it was at 54.
Wow. So when they say inflation has come down, now what it means is that this bread I used to buy for 20 Ghana, which when it moved to 54%, took the price to 31 Ghana. I'm now going to buy that bread at, say, 40 Ghana or 42. The bread I used to buy for 20 Ghana, when you had no business of messing up the economy to take inflation to 54%, I can no longer even buy it at 30 Ghana. Then you say you are doing well because it is stable and it is coming down. The costs of my bread is not coming down. And my salary is not going up. And so you should be humble when you are even talking about it and not beat your chest and record it as an achievement.
But in Brian Echampon's estimation, which you say, I mean, they make nonsense of this kind of argument. In his estimation, by the time we get to December 7, where we're going to vote, the inflationary figures would have dropped further down, thereby taking away this hardship that we are. NDC seem to be fixated about, in the words of Brian Echampo, for which they claim they would win the elections.
I mean, he's not a serious person.
With the agreement,
I mean, I think that
your colleague in
he's
Parliament.
lost that, reality that we all live. He's living in cuckoo's land. And so it is not the only thing that he has said, of late, that shows that he's no longer in touch with the people. I think since his appointment as Minister of Agri, it has even gotten worse. Before then, maybe when he was angling for that position, he was still a bit in touch with reality. But he's completely lost the plot. And that's why I took my time to do this simple mathematics for you to notice that no matter how inflation comes down now under this government, the cost of living is not going to come down.
Wow.
The cost of living, like they say, prices stick at the top. The cost of living is going to, remain high. The only hope, that is assuming without admitting that his projection is correct. I'm not saying his projection is correct, but assuming without admitting that his projection is correct. Even if inflation goes down to 5%, what it means is that the cost of living is now going to be increasing at the rate of only 5%. It does not mean that the cost of living is going to come down by 5%. The cost of living is there. They have taken us to the worst point ever. And the sad part of it, they say, look, this government had no business taking us.
They have no business.
No, I mean,
but is it their fault entirely?
It takes legendary cluelessness to bring us to this point, given the level of resources that they had.
But is it entirely their fault?
And yet, fault. Then whose fault?
I mean, even the report mentions COVID.
Even IMF has been, cushioning them of late. They have now admitted that it was excessive and reckless expenditure in the 2020 elections that even made the situation worse. They have blamed everybody but themselves. But even people who were, trying to still manage the situation and paint them, with bright colors, are beginning to say that, look, Charlie, the thing, like you can't cover it.
Yeah.
So that is why even the IMF is beginning to wash their hands of it and saying that, look, admit it. It's your recklessness that brought us here. In fact, the former deputy finance minister of this government, the ranking member of the finance committee in parliament, he is the one who spearheads all the government deals in parliament.
Yeah.
Financial agreements. He leads it. He has come out and he has worked at the finance ministry as deputy minister before.
In charge of revenue.
In charge of revenue. Yeah. And he has said it clearly that it is their recklessness that has brought us all this wahala that we are having to endure. And I'm saying that we have no business because, look, this is the luckiest government ever. Luckiest. Look, they are like the child that inherits so much wealth from their parents. His Excellency President Mahama and the previous NDC government did a lot of work. They actually did so much. Look, you speak to people in the international community, and one of the things they salute his government for was his ability to even work to policy.
Wow.
They call him a policy titan in the international community.
President Mahama.
The ability to work to policy. The vision was clear. The planning was strategic. The linkages were simply awesome. And so they did a lot of work. And that is why by the time they were handing over, after the outcome of the 2016 general elections, when people did not fully appreciate where he was taking this country, we had buffers. You had the stabilization fund. You had the sinking fund. You had all these hospitals that he had left behind. You had the expanded ports that were, currently is bringing in so much revenue. You had the oil fields. He was working with just revenue from one oil field. Don't forget. But he worked so hard that by the time he was leaving, he had discovered 2 more oil fields.
But what
can you just imagine?
Sure.
Can you imagine someone handing over that to you?
Yes.
I mean, it's just a bottle of water I have to make this room wet. And then I manage, and then I conjure things. And by the time you say I should leave this room so someone will take over, I'm giving you 3 bottles to make it wet. And you still make the room dry.
Also, so
it takes a legendary, incompetence and recklessness to fail. So, and that is what has happened. 3 oil fields were brought on board by the time the NDC was handing over, increasing the revenue that comes to government. And look, check the tax revenue that this government has enjoyed since they came into power. Unprecedented. And the Bible itself says it. The good book, the religious, leaders are listening. To whom much is given,
much is
expected.
Yeah.
And so when we say that, they had no business bringing us to this, level of deprivation. It is because you look at how much that they had at their disposal.
And when you reconcile this with Vice President Bawumia, who was so vociferous when they were in opposition, reconcile this current situation with wanting to be in power. Is wanting, his desire for Ghanaians to vote for him. When you reconcile this with it, how does it hit you?
I actually think that I feel sorry for him sometimes as a senior brother, because He has clowned himself to a point of irrelevance.
Say that again.
Yes, he's clowned himself to a point of irrelevance
Meaning?
in our body politics. And as a younger brother, when I look at him, I feel sorry that he allowed himself to, be used as the pawn that he has become.
Oh, really?
It's so shameful when you look at the tweets that are in his name.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the skits, the videos.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Why do
things
you
that
call
he
it skits?
said.
I mean,
Yeah,
these are things he said.
yeah. But they have been reduced into skits, and they are very good educative pieces.
Wow.
The lectures on how to stabilize the CD, how to bring down inflation, and how to run the economy have all proven that indeed President Mahama was right when he referred to some of them as textbook economics. I mean, economists.
But he argues that his role has been basically advisory. And he's not the one in charge.
That's even the most ridiculous thing I have heard from a leader in my entire life. I mean, I don't like Nana Akufo. I don't think it's a secret. I think that for some of us, his failure is not surprising. I just, however, feel sorry for those who had some hope in him, because they are more disappointed than even some of us, because we already knew he was going to be a bad leader. So it doesn't come to me as a surprise. There's one thing I admire about him.
Tell me.
Of all his time as opposition leader, even though it was public knowledge that he and his predecessor, President, did not have a very good relationship. Not once. Unless you know of any time that he disagreed with President. Not once. And not his policies.
And his track records were used during the campaign.
But you see, what did President Kufuor do for Nana Akufo-Addo? In fact, lovers and supporters of Nana Akufo-Addo believe that it was President Kufuor who delayed his presidency. But for President Kufuor, they could have even won the 2008 election. They believe so. That's why even when he was going to attend the swearing in of His Excellency President Mills, they had to go and stampede him not to go. So he didn't owe President Kufuor anything, but he defended President Kufuor's record till he was elected. There's a good leader and a bad leader, but there's always a leader. That, in my view, it's an example of leadership. Whether it turns out good or bad is another thing. But for him to have endured his disagreements with President Kufuor and not owing President Kufuor anything, but being conscious never to criticize President Kufuor, I find it ridiculous that after all that he has done for Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, our senior brother, after all that he has done for him, picked him from nowhere, made a party card for him, made him running mate 2 times, even when party members were against it. Took him to the presidency, made him vice president. For him, even before the cock crows, to begin to criticize him, to say e-levy is bad, to say, what do you call it? The policies that he's implementing, he will change them. In his face, when he's still president. I mean, what level of opportunism and lack of gratitude, lack of loyalty will lead a man to behave in that desperate manner?
What does it say about his presidential candidature?
It tells you that this is a man full of straw. He is an obey the wind man.
But the president is not complaining, is he?
Yes.
How?
Yes.
Have you heard him?
Didn't you hear him during their primaries? In fact, and I'll start it from there. When Kobna Japong and others started criticizing him, what did he say to them? that you think you will criticize the elephant. You think you criticize my government. You think you disagree with my government and still get my government's and my party's support. That he doesn't think those things work. But you remember.
But that was not a direct reference to Bawumia, was it?
Well,
it was a question.
Wise men take a cue from the mistakes of others. Then it tells you that Dr. Bawumia is not wise. If he listened to that, but still thinks that the best way to get Nana Akufo-Addo's support and his, confidence is to behave in a manner that he has criticized before, then that's not wisdom. Excuse me, that's not wisdom. So clearly the president has complained. Secondly, when he came to address Parliament during his State of the Nation address, you listen to him.
Yes.
Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia was first to have spoken before the SONA, talking about his big vision. And that is when he spoke about how he was proud of advice he has been giving the president, subtly suggesting that his advice is not being taken. And that's why he's running away from the economy to digitalization. Clearly, the president in his State of the Nation address disagreed with that view when he said that it takes an unwise president not to listen to advice of his appointees. Go and read it. Isn't that statement?
So that was a clear disagreement.
Go and read it. Isn't that statement? Now, he takes an unwise president. Yes, he agreed that he's the one with the executive authority and he's the one with the responsibility to take decisions. But that it will be unwise for any president not to take the advice of his appointees.
And also,
yeah, that was because earlier the vice president suggested that all the good things in this government, he is championing it, and all the bad ones is because his advice has not been taken. I mean, I can't imagine how ungrateful a man can be to his boss. I can't.
And do you think the Ghanaian electorate who wants to see change, who wants to see a turnaround of the current situation, will be able to appreciate candidate Bawumia in the manner you've described?
I think it should be obvious to anybody that this is a man you can't trust. I mean, this is a man that completely, even his own boss, will be beginning to ask questions about whether he has not wasted his time all these years grooming him. Like I gave you the relationship between Nana Akufo-Addo and President Kufuor. One will say that President Kufuor really didn't do anything to deserve Nana Addo's respect that much, apart from appointing him to become his Minister of Foreign Affairs and then I think earlier Attorney General and Minister of Justice. He didn't really do anything, to grandfather him. But because they all belong to the same party and because he appreciated the fact that they were comrades, he never, despite their disagreements and their lack of love for each other, criticized his policies or his programs.
But beyond that, there's a school of thought that the fact that he's a Muslim, and I thank God you are here, I thank Allah you are here, the fact that he's a Muslim, by virtue of that fact, Bawumia has a chance of gaining a lot of votes from the Muslim community. That can be a trump card, can't it?
I've heard some people make those, and I think that then they do not understand the Ghanaian community. Yes, we are religious people, and we value our faith, but we also appreciate each other as individuals and as human beings. And it is that value that we place in each other as individuals and as human beings that has made Ghana, a beacon of hope.
That's right.
A light in, in the midst of darkness.
Yeah.
When it comes to religious tolerance, we have a lot of people, either Muslims or Christians, who are either mentored, groomed, or received guardianship from people of different faith. And we respect that. And so when it comes to making choices about who can make our lives better, religion is de-emphasized. And especially so, His Excellency Dr. Mahmudu, over the years, has failed, even though he made that promise when he was running to be the vice president, to live up to expectations of the Muslim community. Look, we have some notable issues that Muslims are very concerned with in this country. And when he was campaigning to become vice president, he assured that he was going to represent the interests of Muslims in the at the presidency. And so one would have thought that in that representation, you will hear him once in a while at least speak about these issues that concern Muslims. One, the wearing of hijab by like nurses and other, professionals to work, and how some misguided, because it's not a general, some extremists, I'll put it that way, have treated people, wearing that. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is not a Muslim, when he was president, criticized it, condemned it, and said those religious extremists must stop that and tolerate people who want to wear their hijab to work. Not once has he ever spoken about it as a Muslim vice president. But not once has Bawumia spoken about it. I mean, there has been an issue of fasting in second cycle institutions, secondary schools. And whether or not these children should be allowed to fast or not. Not once has he spoken about it. Whether he's for or he's against. Not once.
And the Muslim community has taken note.
Absolutely. People have taken note. Look, I personally was on his tail because I am the only Muslim among the sponsors of the LGBTQ
That's
bill.
right.
I was one of the only Muslims. In fact, I'm the only one who signed as one of the sponsors of the bill as a member of parliament. And I believe I did so on behalf of my colleague Muslim members of parliament on both sides, because fortunately, the thing in parliament is bipartisan.
That's right.
So, as the only Muslim among those who sponsored it, my belief is that I did it on behalf of all MPs and even former Muslim MPs. So, I expect that someone higher than me, Parliament, at the presidency, will also be quick to let his faith show in the conversation and back that, conversation.
Wow.
But it took him how many months? And I kept posting about it and asking for his view since this matter started. It's only a couple of days ago that he grudgingly,
how?
I mean, and belatedly,
No, I mean, explain the grudgingly. I mean, what shows that? I mean, he grudgingly came out with that position.
What do you mean by Muslims are against it? Is that a conversation? Everybody knows that your faith is against it. What do you mean by Christianity is against it? That's no news. Yes, Christianity is against it. That's dragging your feet. The conversation of LGBTQ had moved from, that point to personal positions.
That's right.
So, if you are late to the conversation, go straight to the point.
And the point would have been, in your view, what should have been the point?
The point should have been made earlier, and it should have been straightforward. I, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, will never supported the legalization of this act in our soil. And you can rest assured that my conscience and my personality will not supervise a legalization. And so I perhaps will call on His Excellency the President to ignore all the technicalities. After all, he has already been disagreeing with the President, so this wouldn't have been the first time. So he should have said it. He has disagreed with him on e-levy. He should have told us that, please, Mr. President, this thing, sign it. And he should have done that. That for me would have spoken of his boldness.
And this is a matter that is before a court of competent jurisdiction.
That's what I'm saying.
Would you have expected the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana to pose it in the manner you are asking for?
I'm saying that I am not the one suggesting it to him. He has told us repeatedly on different platforms that he sees nothing wrong with disagreeing with the President, his boss, shamelessly, opportunistically. He does it. So I'm saying that he could have ended or concluded his declaration on Eid Day by calling on the President to do the needful. Because the President signed the same e-levy that he is against into law when there was a matter in court. That matter is still in court. It has still not been decided on. The President signed it into law. And he has told us that the President erred. Well, he should have just gone ahead and, done same. But, when you look at Dr. Another reason why that theory, that he's a Muslim,
votes
is wrong, is his conduct. In the Quran, I'm trying to get a verse. I know it is in Baqarah. It's Surah 2. But I'm trying to get the exact verse. I think it is Quran chapter 2:14, if I'm not wrong. And you check that for me, as I am also trying to get it. I think it's Quran chapter 2:14. Quite confident.
What does it say?
So it talks about hypocrisy. It talks about people who mock the religion. It says that when they meet the believers, I'm right, that when they meet the believers, they say, we believe.
Yeah.
The Quran is cautioning us that there are people amongst us, Muslims, when they meet us, believers, they say, we believe. But when alone with other evil associates, they say, we are definitely with you. We're only mocking.
Wow.
And so, when you have a man amongst you who at one time says he's Mahmudu, and another time says he's Timothy, and one time he says Allah is, one.
That's right.
And Oli. And another time he says Jesus is the Savior. I mean, then you begin to wonder if he is not the one, he's not one of the people the Quran has warned us about in Surah chapter 2, verse 40.
But is that not a possibility?
That when they are with you, they say, we believe like you believe. But when they are with other people who don't believe like you believe, they tell them too that we believe like you believe too, was mocking the others. Wow. So right now, you don't know if he's mocking the Christians or he's mocking the Muslims.
So it's an issue of conduct.
Absolutely.
But what about those who say, look, that's a portrayal of religious tolerance and synergy?
You see, we have always had that tolerance in this. And so let nobody set his own questions and answer them. There's never been an issue of religious intolerance in Ghana. And look, when Muslims, for example, were having the Eid, you saw the president there.
That's right.
Did you see him praying?
No.
Did you see him join the congregation to pray?
No. We only saw him gesturing.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the gesticulations. Did you see him when it was time? As for the general prayer, I mean, we all pray. I mean, you go to parliament, we pray. You go to functions, we pray. Whether it's a Muslim prayer or a Christian prayer, we all raise our hands. But I'm talking about the what do you call it?
The actual prayers.
The duties we do. There's actually a term I'm looking for. You know, the fetish we do, the rights that we do differently. You know, do you see a president who is a Christian attend Eid and join in that fetish, in that spiritual performance of the prayer? No. So why do you have a vice president who goes to the church and you cannot distinguish between him, a Muslim, and then the congregants? You should be able to distinguish. I mean, when you go to a Muslim function and a Christian leader is there, you can tell. Because it's not all the activities that the Muslims engage in that he will engage in. And so that has been our practice all these years. I mean, Vice President Aliu Muhammad, God bless his soul, was vice president for how many years? 8 years. He used to go to church programs and Christian programs. Did anybody ever wonder his, faith?
Whether he belonged?
Did anybody ever wonder? So it is not just an act of religious tolerance. It's an act of opportunism that is leading to a hypocritical stand that I think the two major faiths should be questioning. The Christians should be worried. I mean, Muslims should be worried. What's this guy doing? He's trying to play us.
And you get a sense of that Muslims in Ghana are worried about this?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in fact, in some communities, I'm being very charitable. I've gone into some communities during campaigns and people have said that he's not a Muslim.
Wow.
Yeah, they have come to that conclusion. That.
And can that go against him in as much as he's looking forward to breaking the eight?
It shouldn't even be about their religion. It should be about the suffering that they have inflicted upon us as a people. Look, it didn't take Muslim leaders to give Muslims a holiday in this country. And that was under the NDC. And so now when we are celebrating Eid, there's a national holiday, whether Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha. And that was under the NDC. And the NDC has never really been led by a Muslim.
Anyway,
again, it didn't take a Muslim leader to establish the Islamic unit of education. What else is better growth for a group of people than the offer to have their education in line with their faith? It wouldn't take Muslim leaders to do that. In fact, it didn't take Muslim leaders to ensure that the Hajj pilgrimage is sanitized in this country and priced reasonably. And so when you have a Muslim leader who is now supervising a Hajj fare of over 75,000 Ghana cedis, over 7 times higher than it was under a Christian leader, which among them is promoting your faith as a Muslim?
And in as much as you talk about accountability based on what you just said, now the government of Ghana, led by President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, are using what they call the performance tracker to account to the people of Ghana. Aren't you happy with that?
That performance tracker, I think, is going to contribute to the massive defeat that already awaits them in a very massive way. I mean, I see some of the pictures in the performance tracker, and it's like they have just taken the structure from Russia or Ukraine.
That was some. I mean, these are 10,000 projects in Yakawansable.
That's another question. In the 2020 general elections, the data shows that when they launched their, what was it called?
Is it the
performance? It was a delivery tracker.
Delivery tracker.
It was a delivery tracker.
Yeah.
They launched it. It contained about 17,000 projects.
That's true.
3-4 years down the line, the performance tracker is now like 13,000. 4,000 projects vanished. And even in this 13,000, in less than a week, they themselves have come out to acknowledge that about 67 were wrong in entries. And these entries include like very basic things like road humps, like Spirambo. Let me just so that people understand Spirambo achievement. Like, what do you take the people of Ghana for? 6 units Toilets. Look, Kwame, in my constituency,
we have some of the pictures that
it's shameful.
We'll be rolling as you go on.
It's shameful.
In your constituency,
in my constituency,
Tamale North.
When I list the projects that I have been able to do as member of parliament, I kid you not, sometimes I'm shy to mention toilets.
Why?
Even though I've done them, but I just feel like...
But these are places of convenience.
Yes, but let the people utilize it. I've done it. But it's not a major thing that I'm proud of. Because you see, I want a society where everybody should be able to have a WC or, some decent place of convenience in his home.
These are not just any mere structure.
Please, I'm telling you, I've done like 2 of these, but I don't list it as my projects. When I'm on radio or TV or on the platform talking about achievements. Come on. It's ridiculous. How? After taking tax revenue alone, on a yearly basis of more than 35 billion Ghana cedis. Average. On a yearly basis. Average. Almost every year, tax revenue. And you know what that means? It means they have been squeezing us. You and I are paying that much. Because no government has ever raised that amount of tax revenue. So what it means is that they are taxing us like no other government has ever done. And so on the average, they make about 35 to 40 billion every year. And these are projects they show as their, delivery points. Come on.
Remember,
what do district assemblies do?
That they need to account to the
what do assemblymen
partners as well?
Donor partners.
Yeah. They need to account to them.
I'm sure that the donor partners are shaking. And that is why I think it is exciting that people are beginning to talk about the NDC. Go through the drain. I mean, the NDC did unprecedented constructed number of CHIPS compounds. CHIPS compounds.
Yeah.
Clinics that are nicer and better looking than these 6-unit and road arms and others. But you will not find it in the Green Book. But on record, no one challenges the explosion of CHIPS compounds across this country. In fact, at a point, even government workers, appointees, their salaries were deducted. You remember?
Yes.
And that money was used to construct CHIPS compounds. 10% of their salaries. But you won't find it in the Green Book because it was not that mega. Yes, it's important, but it is not what you use to show how you have spent billions and billions of Ghana cedis. It's not what you use. I'm surprised they didn't even show the National Cathedral in their tracker. It should be captured. Because if they have the courage to show some of the structures they are showing, they should show us that bit. They should upload that bit. I mean, it is so shameful, it is so embarrassing that you wonder if they recruited some NDC foot soldiers to do this tracker.
Why do you say so?
Because I mean, it's like a man shooting himself in the head. It's like a man shooting himself in the head. And it's also because they really have nothing to show. It's not like they don't know that this is embarrassing, but that's what they have.
And this is a government that prides itself with the fact that it's delivered more than any other government since Nkrumah's time.
And this is what they are showing. So perhaps they have audio delivered.
Audio?
Yeah, they have audio delivered. But on the ground, nothing there. I mean, even in the tracker, some of the projects they claim is 90% complete, 100%. When you go to the ground, nothing there. Nothing there. And people are showing videos from some of the communities.
Yeah.
In fact, I just saw one last night from Salaga, where they said they have completed a hospital. The thing is overgrown by weeds. They said they have completed it and it's in use. You know, I am looking to see if the Wale Wale watermelon factory is there, because the last time, what do you call it? Nana Kumia was also on set and made the claim that they had completed it and that it was generating jobs. Only for community members to send a video showing clearly that the place is only overgrown by weeds and occupied by lizards. Nothing.
So can you fathom the pride with which this was launched and then showcased to the world, and then the attendant narratives that, look, this is what is going to help by way of accountability, not just to the people of Ghana, but global partners as well.
You know, I sincerely believe that the MPP people don't respect us. They don't respect us. They think we are so gullible. And so they believe that the Ghanaian is so feeble-minded that all you need to do is to show a lot of arrogance and pomposity and confidence. And that you can get away with anything. And over the years, I mean, some of the things they have gotten away with, you can understand why they think that we are not deserving of their respect.
But is that not the general mindset of people about political parties in power, especially when they are in an election year? Same was said about the NDC in 2016. That you were not listening to the people.
No, comparatively. I mean, President Mahama did the what do you call it? This tour, accounting to the people.
Yeah, to the people tour. Yeah,
and that's where the Green Book was printed. And watch him then. He didn't hold big ceremonies to launch, you know, performance indicators and all that. He went to the people. And in their communities, he pointed out the things he was doing to them in a very humble way. I mean, yes, sometimes, that's why I'm saying that the NDC remains the conscience of the nation. Oh. Unfortunately, some of us are getting tired of being the good boys in the politics of this country. Honestly. I mean, because when you look at what these people get away with, then you wonder if it pays. If it is actually, you know, worth the pain and effort to be good and different. So at the time, the NPP had managed to convince a lot of people that the NDC was, you know, up to no good. And so no matter how well the message was crafted, there was always something wrong with its presentation. It's just like, you know, a rival. That's why they say even when he's swimming, you say he's generating dust. You understand? So it wasn't as if the NDC actually in government behaved with the level of arrogance that these people are behaving. Look, the NDC actually, you have forgotten, sacked a DCE for just asking who said Tria.
I remember.
Just asking who said Tria.
Yeah.
He was sacked. Today, the Ashanti regional minister, you know what he has done?
Talk to me.
The ECG went to disconnect a school. He called the regional manager to go and, you know, reconnect the school. And he says that, oh, it's a task force from Accra that did it, so I can't do it. And he called the police to go and arrest him. And they arrested him, and he's on bail now.
And that's power. And talk about power. Same power
abuse of it.
Same power is being used to rename Ameri. It's now Kumasi 1.
You know, and that's why I'm saying that they don't respect us. And I've said so many times again that, look, their level of incompetence and failure is not as annoying as their dishonesty. So dishonest about everything. And I think that they are encouraged to be dishonest to us because we have tolerated their disrespect all these years.
Do you see dishonesty in the renaming of Ameri?
I mean, it's like, let me give you a scenario. A typical scenario.
Right.
I come into this studio with a phone. Yeah. You don't know where I got it from. I tell that, hey, Kwame, when I was coming here, I saw some guy, you know, he stole this phone. He stole it. And I took it. But I think it's nicer than your phone, so collect. No, seriously, what will you think of me? Or what questions will you ask me?
They said the chrono now.
I mean, I mean, the first question is, so what did you do to him? Whose phone is it?
Right. Stolen phone.
Stolen phone.
Yeah.
I'm using this scenario because the MPP told us that President Mahama stole our Mary. That he stole it. He was a thief in that transaction. So if he's going to give it, if they are now going to give it to the Kumasi people, shouldn't the Kumasi people be asking him, but where, like, what did you do to the thief? What did you do to him? Shouldn't, I think the Ashanti region people should be asking him that question. What did you do to the thief? Because under normal circumstances, you want me to know, but why are you giving me a stolen thing? I wouldn't you want to know?
Of course.
So the Ashanti region people should be asking, why are you bringing us a stolen thing when you have not even resolved the theft around it?
But the argument is that, look, they've been able to take care of the purchasing of the Ameri plant. So now it's Ghana's property. So they have every right to rename it as Ameri is the name of the company.
You know, before I even address that, isn't it just shameful that someone spent 500 to get us a plant we didn't have money to pay for. And so because of that, we had to buy it on high purchase. And you know that things cost higher when you are buying it on high purchase. We all know that. I mean, when you are buying something on credit to pay later, you don't pay the same price. We know that. So he bought it on high purchase, 500. So we're giving about 5. Said 510 million, 5 years. You have used $35 million. Move it to Kumasi. And you know when he bought it in, and it came from Dubai. Dubai to Ghana.
And Accra,
then
Takoradi.
And Accra to Takoradi. In fact, Dubai to Tema.
That's right.
Tema to
Takoradi. Takoradi to.
And Takoradi to, what do you call it?
Kumasi.
It's $35 million. Can you imagine if they were bringing it from $35 million, so not cedis.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get it right. And these people, when you look at the way they dump the dollars, SkyTrain here, dollar gone, no SkyTrain. Paolugu, dollars gone, no Paolugu. You know, you name them. Cathedral, $58 million, no cathedral.
Dollar gone.
Yeah. Like they just throw it. Motorway, millions of dollars gone, no motorway expansion. A new contractor is on site, different money. And the thievery, it's just unexplainable.
And the justifications?
And so, $35 million to just move it from Takoradi. And then their justification is that, oh, yes, it is now Ghana's property. Yeah. Really? Do you remember that this deal is what cost Wache Ejako his job as minister?
We do.
And why? So that is when their lies started catching up with them. Their lies about President Mahama stealing and fraudulently acquiring Ameri. That's when it started catching up. Because when they claimed that he fraudulently acquired it and they came into office in 2017, we had just used the plant for 2 years. So it was in the 3rd year. So they said they were going to renegotiate. And in the renegotiation, they ended up bringing a deal that was going to get Ghana paying about 1 billion. Not 510.
Yeah.
The 510 that they criticized.
Now 10.
When they took over to renegotiate, they brought $1 billion. I mean, are you getting it? So it tells you that if they were the original negotiator,
wow,
and extended even the period to 15 years, 5 years, 510 million, and the what do you call it? Plant is ours. When they renegotiated, it was now going to be 1 billion, 15 years. So even if the minority group, as usual, if we were not vigilant, and these are some of the things people don't give us credit for.
Yeah.
This was the first parliament. If we were not vigilant, even that time we didn't have numbers. And we shut that deal down. If we were not vigilant, that plant today, if we had allowed the MPP to have their way, it wouldn't have even been Ghana's plant. Even after 7 years, even though the original plan was that after 5 years, it was to be Ghana's plant. They criticized that. When they had the opportunity to negotiate, they were extending it to 15 years. They were increasing even the cost. Took the NDC minority again, raised the red flags, joined by civil society organizations. And eventually the president had to declare that he was misled.
In wrapping up,
even though Boakye Jaku has told us that clearly he was not misled.
Yeah.
And that Gabi sent him an email and told him that the president was aware of the renegotiation, and so he should go with that, email renegotiated plan. So clearly, these are just crooks in suits.
And I was just saying that in wrapping up, this is the baggage you've presented, and we're all aware of it. What's the guarantee that under the leadership of President Mahama, we'll be able to deal with the situation and return Ghana back on the path of prosperity?
I have said that not even for the sake of the ND, but for the future of our democracy. The NDC has to be the next NDC government has to be ruthless when it comes to holding its power. No ifs, no buts.
Ruthless.
Look, otherwise our democracy will crash. I'm afraid. The level of impunity, the level of impudence, if not checked, people will lose confidence in the democracy. They begin to think that we politicians just rob each other.
They say you're all the same.
And that is why the next NDC government must be ruthless when it comes to holding these people. Account for all the losses that we are all seeing. The thievery that is before us.
But under the same democracy, you need evidence. Incontrovertible evidence.
We have had judges sentence people using dictionary definition. Look, it must be done for the sake of our democracy and not just NDC. If we want our youth, our young people to continue to believe that democracy is working in their interests, then we have to hold people responsible for the misdeeds that we are experiencing. I mean, it is not an accident that our economy has gone bankrupt. It's not an accident that people are enduring haircuts. It's not an accident. It was as a result of some reckless conduct. I just told you about SkyTrain, $2 million ship. We don't have the SkyTrain, but we are told millions of dollars are gone. Kwaulugu, millions of dollars are gone. We don't have the Kwaulugu project. The motorway, we don't have, and there are no explanations that are coming forth. I mean, if these are not clear cases of causation of financial loss to the state, I don't know what else qualifies to be identified as such. So I think that not even for the future of the NDC, not for the NDC. Look, everybody knows that the economy is so broke that the NDC in the next 4 years, inshallah, when we come into office, cannot turn a magic wand to turn the economy around in just 4 years. Yes, you can put it on a path to growth again in 4 years. But you cannot solve all the problems that these people have created in 4 years. But at least you have to let the people know that someone was responsible for the suffering. Someone was responsible for the chaos, the mess in our environmental sector, the mining areas. I mean, what didn't these people do about how much was Woyomi paid? I can't even remember.
51 million or so,
Judgment debt. Do you know the number of judgment, the amount, not even the amount, the number of people who have been paid judgment debts in this government, the amount alone that has gone to Wontumi? More than twice.
Judgment debt.
Absolutely.
To Wontumi?
Yes.
Wow.
And he has spoken about it himself before, that Mahama burned his excavators. And that they paid him. The impudence. Something has to give to save our democracy in the next government.
Very well.
And I have confidence that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is a man to trust. He has the experience.
He has 4 years.
And he owes nobody after 4 years. He's not going for another election.
Baumia says that's scary. And that's the reason
That's
he
good.
thinks
It is good that it is scary.
He will not perform.
It is good that it is scary. You need a man like that who owes nobody in this country after 4 years to put, the access on their shoulders and the necks that deserve those access. The witches that have to be hunted must be hunted by a man who owes nobody after 4 years.
Very well. Thank you very much. Jamal Tahir Supernatural. Witches that have to be hunted here. Winchester, Bushye. Thank you so much, Honorable Alhassan Suhini.
Thank you so much.
So I'm going to come on and then you're rebro for Ankasa.
Charlie, the tree name, I try.
Thank you so much. Abusia, but when you know, so as I say, what else in the Moshe Jumedi, Dwaboase, I the better one, Edo, the banner, Ajumania, Power near the Parliament morning, Ebremo. Bye bye.